Yeah, let's get right into it. I was on a thread and I ran a poll about um, how people feel about AI connection, whether it's through business or, and in some factors, romance, right? People are utilizing AI even for dating partners, which is, you could say, is bizarre, and it kind of is, you know, um, but it's true. Um, there's a specific company that's charging people to set up um, virtual dating relationships and things of that nature for specific people for AI relationships. And it's definitely something that you could do the research on. It's attracting the ages between the early 20s to 27 years of age. And it's crazy, it's different, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, you could say it's bizarre, but that's the way our system is, our society is changing, right? We used to be able to, as a male, walk up to a female and talk to them, spit some game, or, if that wasn't your thing, maybe, she would, say something to you, spark up a conversation, and you guys go ahead and, exchange information and things of that nature, and then get to a different level and later in time, But I mean, that's where we're at with everything right now. And one of the questions I got is this a harmless or mental trap? And in certain instances, you have to say it is kind of harmful, because it really takes away from what connected us as a people, decades ago, and that's the part of humane society, is being able to actually reach out and deal with people on a higher level. But now we're getting introduced to people reaching out to code on a higher level, right? And it's crazy how society has changed, but it is what it is. Where does this all stem from, though? You know what I'm saying? And excuse the noise in the background. I'm close to an airport, so you guys will probably hear some noises back and forth for airplanes and stuff like that. But where does this all stem from? A lot of this stems from 2020. We were in a situation where we were, confined to be in one spot, and people went AWOL, man. They went crazy. Having to be confined in a box is almost like a prison, or what they call the hole. And people found other ways. They found other options. They couldn't really reach out. In that specific instance, it was a little different, because you didn't really have the luxury of going to different places and fraternizing with different men, different women, or whatever you identify yourself as. You weren't able to do that, so you had to reach out to the virtual world. And to me, in my eyes, that's where it kind of stemmed from, and it created a lot of lonely people, and it's funny, the reaction that I got on the thread, like, people were really open about that. Like, I was like, man, I can't even believe, like, we even having this conversation, you know what I'm saying? But that's where, the society changes. The one thing I could, pull away from this is that, I'm not saying you should do that, but what I am saying is that, you should definitely embrace AI, because at the end of the day, that's where we're going, right? And I'm saying embrace it so it could actually better your situation, better your life, via business or personal, but in all cases, it's going to be a part of your life in some way or matter. So it's just something that you're gonna have to embrace at some point anyway. So, but just take it, with a grain of salt. You know what I'm saying? But we'll cover more topics on that, man, because it's a real interesting topic. Like I said, people are actually, having partnerships, romance partnerships with a virtual entity, right? Connected to code, right? So, like I said, I got these statistics from a specific website that, dropped a listing of, ages, and, like I said, the majority were male. I covered that in one of my other videos. Like I said, it got females too, but the majority was males, man. And, all I can say, man, is that you guys got to keep your testosterone up, fellas, males. Younger guys, I'm more of a millennial, so I was kind of birthed into a situation, man, where you gotta have your testosterone up, and usually around, baby boomers and Gen X, right? So it was a point in time where you can't come around, and not being able to, define who you are, you know what I'm saying, or define, the type of male that you are, so, keep your testosterone up, fellas. I said I got the weight bench here. If you guys need, tips or ideas, man, you need to lift weight, you need to work out intensively. I like squats. Squats is the #1 benefit to testosterone and overall, health benefits, especially intimate. So you guys, if you're having an issue with that, that's something that I would definitely recommend. But that our society is changing. You guys can embrace it. You can, decide that you don't want to. But it is, what it is. But, let me know what you guys think. And I'll probably cover a little bit more of these in the future. And it's your boy, Voice of the People. I'm out.